Chapter 3. How to gain the Master Key. Every natural force is ready to work with and for us if we use it intelligently, according to its law. All readers of the previous essays must comprehend now, I think, that the Tattvic forces are the active agents of all cosmic intelligence and energy. Our task now is to learn what is our measure of responsibility for their harmonious movement, and how we can gain the mastery instead of being mastered by them. In the physical body, the nerves are the lines through which the Tattvas speed to their assigned field of influence, and one nerve may carry several vibrations simultaneously, just as a single electric wire transmits many messages. The moment they enter the human body, however, the Tattvic vibrations encounter the disturbing influences which are ceaselessly arising in the average mind. The reasons for this, though they have so completely baffled the scientists that there are still many who deny that thought can possibly influence matter, are extremely simple, logical, and absolutely scientific. In the Tattvic law we find the solution. It has been demonstrated beyond question that emotions of hate, passion, fear, or a guilty conscience generate poisons in the human system which, when not active enough to kill, the poisoned milk of an angry mother has been known to kill her nursing infant, are the primary cause of many disorders, and they give their distinct colors to the secretions of the respiratory glands. These effects are caused by the abnormal vibrations into which the Tattvas are thrown by the above mental states. Thus, with every thought, we are molding these bodies of ours to ease or disease. Every atom, every molecule of your body is as sensitive to the thoughts within, yea, and only less sensitive to those without, as is a feather to a riffle of air. It is only strong, positive personalities who think their own thoughts. More than half of humanity simply reflect the thoughts of other people, for the Tattvas carry them to responsive minds. They are the wings of thought. The usurped overlordship of the sense-directed mind is the source of most of the ills and sufferings of the body, and its crowning sin and most disastrous menace are that it stifles the soul and prevents its growth through the experiences which should be its daily and hourly portion. The sooner you recognize that you are a soul and have a body, a worldwide difference from the ordinary conception, the sooner you will become conscious of an increased vitality and strength. For the rousing of the soul to conscious activity through this recognition raises the Tattvic vibrations to a higher, more subtle plane. The resulting sense of well-being is the proof that you are actually remaking your body of purer materials through the harmonic cooperation of all the elements needed for its upbuilding. When once you have experienced the thrill that this consciousness gives you, you will never again deny the dynamic power of thought, nor the deeply significant truth that spirit works through matter. These physical bodies of ours are always in a state of flux and reflux like molten metal or plastic gypsum, every component atom taking the form that is, the vibration, which the thought of the moment gives rise to. Every thought, even the most idle and fleeting which the mind admits to its sanctum, speeds away on one of the wires centering there, to affect for good or ill the molecules influenced by that nerve. When you banish the army of discordant warring thoughts which sense perceptions are ever giving rise to, and declare your real self, your soul, the ruler, you are exercising a willpower which connects your soul with the great central dynamo, the divine spirit, and, with channels freed for their flow, streams of vital force will speed over your nerves in full rhythmic currents, which will stimulate all the atoms to harmonious vibration. Now, the problem before us is, how are we to quiet the frivolous, discord-breeding activities of our minds, so that our souls shall come into recognized rulership of their mundane kingdoms, the physical bodies, and be able to restore the rebellious subjects of these kingdoms to the coordinate action which their unity of interests demands. Here is where knowledge of the Tattvas is of overwhelming importance to every human being. We cannot accomplish this by study and reading alone. Knowing and doing are two distinct acts, and it is only by using any knowledge that we make it our own. The only road to the conquest and control of these so restless minds is through diligent practice of methods of breathing and concentration, which, beginning by regulating the normal flow of the Tattvas, which purifies and strengthens the nerves, then gives us the power to silence the clamor of the senses and, with the soul freed from the shackles of these energy wasters, to send the vital current wherever we wish. It is difficult for some to understand how the positive and negative currents of prana can flow down the right and left sides of the spine and speed over the nerves, since breath, they say, can enter the lungs only. The gross bulk of the air, that which inflates the lungs, does not penetrate through muscles, nerves, and bones, but the subtle force within it, that which is life-giving, renewing, and rebuilding speeds everywhere, an electric, vital fluid. And the more rhythmical the breathing, the greater the tendency of all the molecules in the body to yield to this current and move in the same direction, which vastly increases the electrical power. The distinction between breath and prana is a very subtle one, and most attempts to describe the latter consist of affirmations followed by denials. Even the Swami Vivekananda, who could think so clearly in English that he seemed to have a psychological grasp of Western modes of thought, could not escape the Hindu propensity to strive for the finest conceivable distinction. After saying that the most obvious manifestation of prana is the breath, and that this prana is the vital force in every being, and the finest and highest action of prana is thought, he concludes by this statement: and yet we cannot call it force, because it is only the manifestation of it. Other writers are equally baffling, yet this need not give us concern. Everyone who practices will learn to know prana for what it is. To say that breath is something very different from prana is not only misleading but unnecessarily confusing. And in great part the ultimate analyses reached by all these quibblings are distinctions without a difference, a splitting of hairs as it were. For a breath without prana is unthinkable, since it pervades all space, and has within it the force that moves the universe and holds the planets in their spheres. Wanting prana we should not breath at all, and its withdrawal brings physical life to its close. Prana is the terrestrial manifestation of solar energy, and its perpetual cycling motion from within outward and back again supplies the lever that controls the automatic contraction and expansion of the lungs. It is, moreover, the vehicle and stimulator of that thinking principle within us which superintends all the automatic functions of internal organs. The importance of never forgetting the imperative need that the positive and negative currents of prana be equally balanced should now be clear to all students. The control of this all-pervading energy, the vital or creative force in every atom, is called pranadma, and it is in the held breath exercise that we generate the willpower to gain this mastery. The philosophy of this is that the force of the vibrations thus concentrated upon given centers, or nerve plexuses, strikes with such an impact upon the myriad of molecules and atoms as to impart a sympathetic, rhythmical, direction and motion, and, holding steadily to a single focus the customary scattering mental impulses, thus generates higher and more subtle rates of vibration. The higher they are, the purer and finer, and the greater the power of the tattvas which make up the current of prana. The next exercise, therefore, for which the preceding ones, besides having their special effect in regulating the vital currents and calming the nerves, have been a preparation, gives precedence to holding the breath, hence its name. The held breath is also alternate, and begins like the other exercise with a negative left inhalation, closing the right nostril. The usual count for beginners is 4 for inhalation. Hold 16 and exhale through right nostril during 8. Then inhale through right nostril and continue by same count. A complete exercise is one negative breath followed by a positive, and therefore includes 2 held breaths and corresponding exhalations. This is 1 round, and 4 repetitions are sufficient for 1 practice. Rid yourself of any impression that you must use force to hold the breath. That will cause constriction and tension some way, usually in the throat. You simply arrest the outward motion, and the whole passage over which the vital current flows, from nostril to base of spine, is perfectly free. If you cannot so realize it, image to yourself an open conduit filled with purest ozone running down through the center of your being. Nothing but vigor can or should radiate from it. This exercise for pranayama should never be taken within 2 hours after eating, and is best practiced before meals. 4 practice periods daily are sufficient, and the most favorable hours are early in the morning. The nearer sunrise the better, at noon, in the gloaming, and just before retiring. It is very important that regularity should be observed in practice. More rapid progress will be made in 2 regular periods, same time daily, than in many irregular ones. Length of count can be increased from 4 to 6 as you gain power, preserving, however, the same ratio as 6, 24, 12. Upon this point, Hindu teaching lays emphasis. If you turn the thought inward, following the current down, there will be no sensation of discomfort, oppression, or constriction anywhere during the holding of the breath. Under this mental direction, the vital force will surge upon the designated center with stimulating power. The following directions for concentration are to be considered merely as suggestions for practice, and should be varied according to personal needs. During the first round, concentrate the thought upon the sacral plexus. Second round, upon the solar plexus. Third, between the shoulders, rather low down. And fourth round, at the back of the throat upon the node vital in the great vagus nerve. It is important to concentrate upon the same center or centers in 1 round. The solar plexus, back of the stomach and in front of the aorta, the spot often described as the pit of the stomach, sends out important ganglia through the viscera, and it is to the whole nervous system what the heart is to the circulation of the blood. Concentration in this center not only affects profoundly the whole digestive system, intestinal as well as gastric, stimulate and normal functioning of every part, but it reacts beneficially upon even remote centers through the higher power of the electric current thus generated, and strengthens the whole body. Hold the thought while centering it here upon a luminous deep blue disc encircled by rings of yellow, orange, and red. Close your eyes and fix your mental gaze upon the disc. It is a great help to mental control, and you will soon see the glowing colors so plainly that you will not need to imagine them. The whole rainbow of colors can be seen by psychic vision. Sometimes it is an aid in getting control of the mind to transfer the thought after the first 8 of holding to another plexus for the last half of the count. Thus, hold first on sacral plexus, then raise the thought to between the shoulders for the last half of the 16, and hold on solar plexus during 8, then transfer to the throat for remainder of count. The downward flowing currents are physical in their influence and the upward flowing are psychical, so it is always best to terminate practice with concentration upon upper centers. Other important centers for concentration are the heart, the tip of the nose, the toes, big and little, soles of the feet when they are cold, between the eyes, the tip and the root of the tongue, the little fingers, and the brain center, or top of the head. Concentration upon these vital centers is force-creating as faithful. Regular practice will soon convince you. So the invalid who seeks in these exercises restoration of the health and vigor longed for, I give this special message. First, image clearly what you wish to attain, and then hold the image steadfastly in mind, an image or picture of health, strength, activity, and helpfulness instead of their enslaving opposites. As far as possible, consciousness of infirmities must be banished. Waste no strength in denial of suffering. It is fearfully real for the time being, but every moment when you can put all the complications in the background, rising to a plane of serenity and harmonious vibrations above them, assists in reflecting better conditions. This is why we should become as little children. The child's mind is as free from prejudices and beliefs as a fresh-washed slate from marks. It reflects sympathetically every vibration cast upon its innocent, undefiled substance. And it is most helpful when we grown-ups can cultivate a child's power of make-believe. We are coming to realize that we choose for ourselves of what stuff these physical bodies shall be molded, and in the ceaseless activities of our minds determine whether they shall be harmonious or discordant. Chapter 4. How to use the Master Key. The secret of all success in every undertaking is concentration of all energy and all endeavor upon that aim. Remittent effort, with many irons in the fire sharing attention and strength, is a wasting drain upon time and human energy, and never, unless under rarely fortuitous circumstances, produces more than mediocre results. This importance of concentration is well understood in its bearing upon the material interests in life, but its real potentiality is not even dreamed of until, in connection with the rhythmic breath, it is used to bring the mind under control, and, through the mind, the body. This system of teaching the overcoming of the lower self, by no means belittling the body or any form of matter, but recognizing the power and influence of every atom, proves to us in clarion tones of conviction the personal responsibility of all who are endowed with intelligence for the perfection of that body through right thinking. It is by controlling these bodies of ours first, with all their passions and emotions known of them designed for our undoing, but as schools of strength that we build the ladders which carry us to unknown, almost unbelievable heights of intellectual and spiritual power. Heights where we know that all lasting, enduring power is indissolubly united with, because proceeding from, the spiritual force, and is fed by rhythmic currents of Tattvic vibrations of so high and subtle a character that they are unaffected by the disturbances on the grosser planes of being. Only spiritually can we know them, and in rare, exalted moments they give us a perception of the harmony of the spheres. The source of strength thus opened to one is inexhaustible. Practice will give every human being access to it, for the reservoir is within every soul. The effective use of the Master Key is by means of concentration. Only thus can we gain so firm a hold upon the key that we can unlock and open the magic realm of power to which it gives access. The practice of the exercises for pranayama purifies the body through the impetus it gives to the expulsion of all wastes, and it greatly increases the flow of the most favorable tattvas, which, speeding rhythmically over the nerves, clear the channels of all jarring and jangling vibrations, those irregular and abnormal atomic vibrations which cause disease. In brief, this exercise, through bringing the vital force, prana, under control and raising the currents to vastly higher power, more subtle vibrations, prepares the way and the stimulus to gain the power of concentration. For every particle of control over prana is control over the mind as well. Concentration is the bridge which spans the gulf between the visible, physical world and the wonderful invisible one of nature's finer forces. It is the first step in consciously exercising the subconscious mind, the immediate vehicle of the soul's expression. Only by concentration can we quiet the kaleidoscopic flitting of idle thoughts through the conscious mind. Through their train of upheaving emotions, They are constantly beating upon nature's harmonious vibrations and throwing them into waves of discord. The moment we arrest, through concentration, the energy-wasting activities of the senses, which furnish much of this mental hash, we bring our minds under control of our souls and give our real selves a chance to live and develop the powers which lie latent in every human being, awaiting only recognition and the stimulus of use or exercise to be evolved. The need for the silent period of concentration is the need for meditation, that men may learn to know their spiritual selves and gain the peace and strength which can be found in no other way. The man of meditation is the man of poise who meets life's perplexities with the confidence drawn from this unfailing source. In the rush and turmoil of life, this noblest part of being lies latent when not denied. The progress of the race during centuries has been vastly retarded by the mistaken attitude towards the soul. It has been treated as a mysterious something, quite apart from practical affairs, which must be saved for the future life. Forgetful, yea, for the most part ignorant, that it is ever and always the immanent present which demands the exercise of the soul. By the conquest of self in that exercise, and the first enemy is selfishness, the soul saves itself and grows to immortal stature. It is the exaltation of the physical body as the mundane manifestation of self whose needs, comfort, and pleasure are of paramount importance that has made possible the development of the modern cursed Sunday saints who are weekday sinners. The man who knows he is a soul and that every vibration he sends out will return to him, cannot have one set of morals for the first day in the week, and an antagonistic code governing his business dealings and private life. No one can learn the truths of the Tattvic law without realizing personal responsibility for every thought and act. It is no longer an uncertain belief or a creed. It is absolute self-knowledge based upon unvarying natural law, and it fulfills the promise that the truth shall make him whole. The cult of the power of silence arose from the imminent need to save the world from the abyss of materialism into which it has been plunging with its famous seven-leagued boots of so-called progress. Humanity is just rousing itself to a realization of the depths of degradation to which this mad pursuit of material things as the be-all and end-all of existence is carrying the race, and it is waves of spiritual vibrations, generated by lofty aspirations in the silence, which are thus stirring the public conscience as never before. From this leaven are rising insistent demands for ethical standards of conduct governing all human relations, and the time has come when these demands can never be silenced till the principle of the universal brotherhood of man passes from theory into vigorous practice, purifying every branch of government, municipal and national, and elevating all the activities and relations of life. This is the real Christ spirit which is to rescue humanity from the present intolerable conditions of sordid grind and vicious selfishness. And it is our privilege and responsibility to aid in thought as well as act in this evolution, of which Horatio Dresser wrote prophetically. The law of the Christ is the law of organic perfection. The Christ spirit made social is the supreme triumph of all the powers of evolution. Spiritual thought must descend as a balm to cleanse and to heal the wounds of crime. Not the common vulgar crimes of ignorance or of ungovernable passion which education combats, but the far more dangerous ones, more heinous in the sight of God, more fatal to the soul. The deliberate, cold-blooded crimes of satanically immoral intellects which have sacrificed all human welfare and national prosperity to selfish personal greed and ambition. All human moralities melt away before such aims, but they can neither affect nor withstand the force of the stupendous moral waves circling round our sphere. It is man himself who must ameliorate the present deplorable conditions. He created them, created all wickedness, all crime and misery, through wrong thinking prompting evil doing. There is no wickedness in the lower kingdoms, and through the power of right thinking man must lift the race from its present state of wretchedness and suffering. He must change conditions. Every human being, no matter how isolated the life, can aid the cause by right thinking. It is the quality of our thinking that through the Tattvas we draw to us makes us what we are, and upon which all our influence depends. Dedicate your daily life to high ideals, and in this training of self-control and self-knowledge, your soul will increase in sensitive intuition to all promptings from the creative resources of the spirit, which are infinite. Horatio Dresser, than whom none has aided more in the cult of spiritual thought, says, "Deep within every human soul there is a dormant intuition which, if it be quickened, will guide us as unerringly as the instinct of the dove to our home in God." Power of silence. That quickening can be obtained only when we listen for our soul's commands. This is difficult in the hurly-burly of life till we have made our minds sensitive to the soul's lightest whisper by wooing it in silent concentration. Remember that we thus raise the Tattvas to a subtle plane, which means increasing activity, vastly increased velocity. This higher rate of vibrations increases the power of the soul to manifest its control over the mind. In fact, puts the two en rapport as nothing else can. The strength which the mind thus gains is sheared by every nerve and externalized in the increased vigor and vitality of the body. Existence should be made a joy. Only thus can any soul manifest its highest powers. And to this end, the daily life, as far as it is under personal control, should be ordered with harmony and restraint. Moderation in eating is important, and the purer the foods, the substances furnished for these marvelous Tattvic activities, the better the results. When there is extreme physical disturbance, more especially congestions of any sort, the practice of the exercises for pranayama, the held breath, would be better omitted. At such times, alternate breathing on account of 7 for inhalation and 9 for exhalation aids wonderfully in restoring poise, calming the mind, and soothing pain. Hold the breath a few seconds before exhalation, and observe a like interval before inhaling the next breath. Repeat 6 or 7 times, that is, from 12 to 14 breaths, according to need. This exercise can be taken frequently every hour or two through the day, and is especially helpful at any moment of excessive fatigue and mental or nervous disturbance. It is the sovereign remedy in all crises of heart weakness. For pains in the back, the held breath exercise affords almost immediate relief, and its continued and regular practice strengthens a weak spine more than anything else I know of. It is well to precede this exercise with several rounds of alternate breathing as given above. Do not confound these exercises with rhythmic breathing, fully described in chapter XXXE. They are remedial and corrective, designed to restore normal conditions. In the well-poised human being, nature takes care of the regular alternation of the currents. Instead of counting numbers during these exercises, and especially during the held breath, it is best to think a rhythmic syllable or phrase, a sacred word or lofty sentiment, the repetition of which holds the attention and promotes harmony. There is a deep significance in this which demands more extended consideration than can be given now. By accenting the first word in each group of 3 or 4, according to count, the mind carries the number without difficulty. Rhythm is promoted, and another anchorage is formed for the mind. This affirmation, from Mrs. Besant's Thought Power, is an admirable sentiment for the purpose. The self is peace. That self am I. The self is strength. That self am I. But any thought or word of deep significance to the student will be effective in the practice of the exercises for pranayama and in the period of concentration following it. the eyes should be closed. This inhibits one disturbing sense activity, and at the same time discloses to us a marvelous inner vision, whose development, like that of all the senses, depends upon use. The first aim of concentration is to withdraw all the senses from every external excitant, for this aids powerfully in quieting the mind. Exactly in the measure that we can hold our attention to a given point, do we increase the rate of the Tattvic vibrations, and therefore the force of prana. One of the earliest results of regular and effective practice is the discovery that this internal vision looks upon a marvelous realm of color due to the tattvas, which we are able to recognize by their characteristic forms and colors. As these vibrations mingle, they vary from their simple forms to those of bewildering complexity, forming every conceivable geometrical line and figure, and the blended colors producing myriad hues and tints. Many movements whirl around a central dot or vortex, which sometimes gives a sensation of great depth or unfathomable space. This whole, as it were, is akasha, the first vibration which was thrown into undifferentiated matter by the great primary cause, divine spirit, hence, the beginning of the involution of spirit into matter. Sometimes this akashic depth might be described as colorless, a glowing white light, again as black in its intensity, really indigo. These are the positive and negative phases. Then, as the faint vibrations mingle with the akasha, it changes to deepest azure. Those who have once seen the wonderful play of light and color within realize forever and that there is a realm where there is no night, and a light that penetrates the densest matter, the light that never was on sea or land.